I would like to introduce Dana from My Care Path to come and talk about, I know there's a lot of misunderstandings about retirement living, but also aged care and accessing care at home. I know from my personal circumstance, I recently went back to Adelaide and one of my friends was dealing with my aged care and singing the benefits of it, and my family didn't want to accept or go through a process of getting care because they didn't think they were ready for it. And yet another friend has got someone coming out to change the door so it opens the right way so mum can walk through a door carrying a basket of washing. So it's just easy. I know that it's complex and daunting, but I'm sure the people in the room today would like your expertise, and hopefully it will be very thought-provoking. So thank you, Dana.
Thanks for having me here today, Lincoln and Glenn and all the other speakers, Leonie, Ben, Nathan. I'm Dana, I'm from My Care Path. I've been the CEO of My Care Path for 17 years, and so we have seen a lot of changes over that time. And what I would like to say just up front is it's really exciting. The improvements in the aged care world have been like unbelievable. You know, from what I was looking at when I first started to what I go look at now, and what people actually get to experience in the quality of care and lifestyle and activities and all those things is fantastic. So there are a lot of positives about aged care, whether it's in the home or residential aged care. So like the retirement village industry, they've improved, they've upped the ante, they're listening to their clients, they're putting in improvements, like even mentioning a study that might be relevant now where it wasn't before, 2 or 3 bedrooms so they can have visiting families, etc. So understanding your client is a really big thing, and the aged care world has done that, but it's also come with a few other implications. Okay, so I've gone with very simple slides today, but the first one is really just a bit of a, thought-provoking, as Lincoln said. If anyone can really follow that graphic up there, well done, because it makes absolutely no sense, and that's what we get on a day-to-day basis. Apparently it's 5 simple steps into residential aged care or to access home care at home. Well, let me tell you, that's not really a reality. It looks all well and good on a piece of paper, but when people are actually faced with this on a day-to-day basis, it's really quite a minefield. And there's many reasons for it, but the big one is that still, even today, when consumers are expected to contribute quite significant funds towards their care, it's still heavily weighted and funded by government. So for a lot of people, it's the first time they're ever really interacting with the government. They might, have been fully financially independent all their lives and still are, but when you're accessing government-funded services, you have to deal with these government processes, and it is a minefield. So what we do is try to understand the clients first. So I've just put up a few steps just so people can start understanding why they have to do these processes and why it's not so simple. There is a high demand. There's a high demand for aged care services, both residential and home care. And because of that high demand and limited resources, there is a juggling act going on. So it is a supply and demand issue, and the demand is much higher than the supply. The aged care assessment backlog is unfortunately not improving. So we do need to plan for it. So if you know that and you understand what you're doing and how the system is working, not how it should work, how it is working, then we can work through the system. But assuming that it's just simple and easy is not going to work. So we have to accept that there is a backlog. It's not an immediate response service. It's a long-term support service. So as long as we think that way, then we can make the system work for you. government regulation is constantly changing. Constantly changing, which does cause in itself confusion, miscommunication, even within the industry professionals. So obviously your neighbours is telling you one thing, might be true for them, but it's not going to be true for you, etc. So government regulation does sort of make it a bit of a minefield. Miscommunication, constantly new, accurate, what's the word? I can't even think of the word. Acronyms, yes. New people use old terminology instead of new terminology, etc. Even the fact that someone might call an aged care facility a nursing home, still lots of people call them nursing home. It really is, the only reason that term still exists is because of Google. Because people Google nursing homes. The word actually, there's no nursing homes anymore, they're all aged care. Complex individuals and families, super important to us is that everyone is an individual. Every single person we meet is an individual. So although the system's supposed to, slip everyone in, clearly it's not going to work. We have 5-year-olds going into preschool. They're already different and they're only 5. So when in your 80s, 90s, 70s, whenever you're accessing care, home or resi, you're all different. So it's really important to understand that we're not all the same. And what's good, well, I'll repeat myself, but what's good for one person might not be good for the other. So we're going to focus on what's good for you. And then workforce shortages. Well, that's a really complex and interesting one, but that is improving. It is becoming a much more attractive industry to work in, purely because it's being paid at a significantly better rate, which is great. So it attracts long-term staff. It really is a good thing, not only obviously for the workers to be paid more appropriately, but it also gives consistency. It just attracts people to the industries to raise the level and get better quality. Okay, this is the way all the processes we get are usually in a straight line. The truth is it's not in a straight line. What we like to do is put the client in the centre. And that's how we operate. So the client's in the centre, immediately around the client is lifestyle. So just because you're ageing doesn't mean you don't have lifestyle. You don't have culture, you don't have family, friends, U3A, all those other things going on. And just because you went to resi care doesn't mean you still can't do that. Just because you're in retirement living doesn't mean your life's over. All these things can still happen around you, which is good when you keep the person in the centre. Family, care and affordability. I also like to talk about that word affordability because it's a really subjective word. People think it's just about how much money you have, but it's not really. It's more about how much money you want to spend out of what you have. Some people have oodles of money and they go, I can't afford to, go to gold class movies, whereas other people have not so much, but they decide that that's a really enjoyable something that they get benefit and quality out of it, and they will do that. So both can afford it. It's just how you want to spend it. And we like to look at that when it comes to residential aged care particularly. It's a little bit different in retirement living because you actually have to have the dollars to pay. But in residential aged care, it can be about making your money work for you. So that's another big topic. My Care Pass. So we've put ourselves in not as a barrier, but in the middle there. So we help you talk to all these different people. Obviously, starting off with My Aged Care, government portal, as I said, just getting that set up and understanding why you're doing it, what you're doing it, getting your family connected in the right way so they can talk to them, asking the right questions, and also understanding I'll just make this really brief, but the big point about when you're getting an aged care assessment, it is your passport to aged care, not your ticket. And what I mean when I say that is we need to make sure that they know what your care needs are, so if you need those services, you can get them. But you might do really well and you figure out that, or you're in a couple and you can kind of manage along and you don't need them right now. That's okay. Your approvals stay here. but it means if something does happen and you need them, you're ready to go. So understanding that that assessment process is to get you your approval so you can access services doesn't mean you've got to take those services. A bit like when you're going overseas. If you've got a passport, just because you've got a passport in your bottom drawer doesn't mean you're going to Europe next week. But it does mean if you choose to use your money and buy a ticket, you can now go. If you don't have that passport, you can't go. So that's what we like to try and...
Sorry for butting in. We're getting an understanding of a perception that you can't apply until you need, as opposed to start to plan ahead.
Yeah.
You might like to comment.
Yes. No, well, that's... I'm just going to be very mindful of my words. But that is true. You are getting that message. But what is your need? It's a bit like affordability. So if you need care or if you need support on Monday, but not on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday or Sunday, you still need support. Because you need support, you need to live every day. You can't just go, well, I can live 3 days and not 5 days. So what we like to encourage people to do is always tell the truth. There's no cross about that. But you've got to put the whole picture, the real story on the table. It's not the time to be stoic or be, you need to put all the warts and all on the table. What's really going on? How many times is your daughter coming over to cook the meals or check up on you? Even if you're fine, she's still doing that, or he's doing that, or, what's really going on? So we can get those approvals so you can use them when you really need them.
So what you're saying is we don't say, well, I can manage the washing, I can manage the garden, but it's an effort.
Best to say you're struggling.
We're just managing.
Yeah, no, I'm really struggling actually. Yes, I am going to do it, but I'm really struggling.
Okay, so you've got to choose your words. Yeah.
But it's the truth.
Yeah.
Yes. So do you see how I'm saying you've just got to put the full warts and all story, not the, which we're all taught all along to be Mr. Independent and I can cope and I can manage with everything. That's what we're all been very, very encouraged to do, which I still want you to do that, that's great. But to get the services and support we need, you need to have care needs to get care. So if you do not tell them, they're not mind readers. They're not going to guess that really you're really trying to say, I'm not coping. You have to say, I'm not coping. And you have to say, I need help to get help. So we'll also help you if it's an emergency situation, you find yourself in hospital, because that's one of the other things about, particularly if we're talking residential aged care. It can happen super quickly. You might be all good and then something happens, a fall, a stroke or something happens and now suddenly you can't go home. You're making major life decisions unfortunately without the time frames that we would like to have to normally, put in place those life decisions. So you need good support from someone like us who will give you really good advice or good information at the time. So even in a short period of time, you can make an informed decision. And whether it's your family, yourself or whoever, it really is, we can hear about you, give you really good information. So it's not the quality of the decision's going to be really good still, even though it's a rushed decision. And we can talk to social workers and make sure this language and miscommunications and all those things don't cause delays or miscommunication. We can help you get in-home care. We talk to allied health, occupational therapists, anyone there. We make sure you understand the legals, little things like, if you can, when you're well, please do put all your powers of attorney in place, financial, personal, big one. Lots of people forget the personal. That's the one that decides where you live if you can't decide. And obviously medical. And advanced care directives, they're all put in place. If you do them when you're well, they're not so hard decisions. If you're trying to do that when you're not feeling your best, it's really, really confronting and conflicting and hard. Retirement living, great. We all love community living. And this is what I try to encourage people. You know, we all loved it when we were kids and shared houses, and then we loved it when we had our family and we were sharing a house. And we love it in a retirement village. You can also take that same philosophy with you into resi aged care. My mother-in-law, who's 91 and a half, has just moved into residential aged care. She lost her husband a few years ago and just went, that's just enough. She's actually cognitively super well, but physically not too bad. But, you know, she decided it was time at 92. And she is loving just having people every lunch and dinner. She doesn't have to talk to them if she doesn't want to. She can if she does. So there's a lot of pros of community living. So I like to encourage people, it's not failure just because you need some help. It's all good. Let's just keep living. We've got residential aged care facilities, which I just talked about. So that's pretty much the scope of who we talk to help you through this journey. We can even talk to the real estate agent and the declutter specialist and the retirement village people. So we'll talk to them all so we can all coordinate it and make it work for the individual. I think that's the summary of when it's that time where you're not so independent as you were and you do need that help. It's great to have that, you know, trusted source around you, making sure that just because you're not at your best doesn't mean you still can't have the best and everything, you know, advocate for you. Oh, this is just our process. So even then I try not to make it in a straight line because it's not. And sometimes a bit comes before the other and whatever. But the first thing is really that first inquiry. So if you ring us, you'll get Jenny Ann or one of the consultants who answer the phone. And she'll say, can you just please tell me your name? And then she'll say, tell me your story. What's going on? Because that you know, really quickly, whoever's rung us will tell us what's most important to them first. And then we can start really working out where you are in the system and how we can help. So once you give us that super brief, we can then we have that conversation. We make sure really for up front that if we can get family or whoever's going to be involved in this decision, involved in that first conversation, it stops a lot of Chinese whispers going on. It stops a lot of that. It keeps everyone on track on what we're trying to do, because really in the end we're always just mainly working for the person that's going to be moving or getting care, even though we often are barely dealing with that person. We have to bring everyone together to make sure we're focused on what we're actually doing. So we try to get everyone in at the beginning because then it's a much more smooth transition. We explain how the system's going to work and we base it on where you are in the system at the time. So I'm not going to explain the whole system to everyone every time I meet them. I hear about you first and then I'll tell you what you need to know from there. We do comparisons. So once again, we'll hear where you live, where your family is, what your finances are, what your care needs are, timing, culture, religion, anything that's going to impact a good outcome for you. We get that brief up front, then we show you options. Because there's no point in me showing something you can't afford, it's not available, it's the wrong religion, whatever. So we get the brief first, then we show you, we start with 3, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 1 because it was a really good one. I go, quick go, because once again, unlike retirement living, options go like that. So, and we'll explain that to you, that 7 days, if you get offered a bed and you take it, you get usually about 24, 48 hours to accept the bed and then 7 days to move. So if you know that and understand that, it doesn't feel so pressured when it happens. If you don't know that and someone says that to you, that's a big whack to think that you're, you know, moving from here to here in 7 days. So we explain all that so the system can actually function and you're not just traumatised by the system. And then we support you. So around paperwork, around Centrelink, what do you need to do? What don't you need to do? Should you be seeing a financial planner is it going to help or not? We're not financial planners, but we do very much understand the finances around residential aged care. And although I have to do quite a bit of homework with the changes that are coming up, they're pretty. So good advice will be priceless, I think, at that time. So that's really us. Oh, and we'll just check in on afterwards. So if it's home care, we check in regularly, every 6 months or a year. But if it's resi care, we'll check in just after you move in. But we're always a resource that anyone can give us a call if they got any questions or anything like that. So along the way. So does anyone have any questions here today?
I see a lot of what I've seen already, which is, this is what it is. This is the closest I've ever got to being satisfied, because it's kind of telling me a little bit of, this is what you do, rather than this is what it is.
That's what we focus on.
And that I'm finding very, very helpful at the moment. And having this set up right in front of me at the moment, you're the one I need to talk to, is to find out who do I contact and how do I contact.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say to them?
Well, I just want to, where do I go and sit down and say, look, I don't know what it is, I don't know. Let's see what I can figure out. At the moment, I do not, until today, I have absolutely no idea where and how.
That's exactly what we do, because no one knows about aged care until they get there. It's not a topic. It's a very unpopular.
But the worst part about it, I don't know where I can go to get it.
Yeah, and that's exactly why we want to be, because that's all, I don't know, this is a bit silly, but as a business model, that's our biggest issue. Everyone knows there's a real estate agent or a mover or a retirement village. People don't know that there's organisations like mine. Of course, only call us because we are the best. But we are genuinely, because we have taken a lot of effort to make sure we stay independent and in the middle. So we will not deliver care. We will not be a retirement village. We will not do the jobs. We have to stay independent so we can advocate for our clients in any direction that's going to work for them. Yeah. And so that's why we sit here and we wait to hear from you, and then we can tell you what you need to know, because we know you don't know.
If the opportunity was opened up to have small sessions, either with you or one of your people running the session or on screen, I think part of Peter's comment back is there's not knowledge of how to get in contact. You don't have to go back, but that round diagram you had with the person in the centre, then that buffer around how do you move out.
Yeah.
In an area that's appropriate, which opens up all the points we've been talking about this morning. That's something we're particularly keen on.
Yeah, and we're really keen on that as well, because we feel that we should have a genuine central point that can make sure, like, people ring me and they go, I want a retirement village. And I hear the story and I'm like, I'm not sure that that's the best option for you right now. We can show you that option, but we can also show you maybe residential aged care, depending on age and stage. Whereas other people are like, I don't know. And I go, well, really, you're really pretty good in, because people's concept of what care, what level of care they're at is quite different. So someone thinks if they need help going to the shops, they're high care, because their daughter kept saying, you're so much trouble or something like that. Whereas I meet them and I go, oh no, you're way too good. We're going to a service department, or we're going, let me show you at least so you can choose. So that's really a very good point. And that's why we put that slide up, to put people as the focus of the middle, and there is not one answer.
So again, cost of your service. How's it paid for?
For an individual? Okay, so we're a fee for service, so private, we're not government funded at all. So we charge it does depend on who and where the referral comes from, etc. But essentially our fee is we charge an initial consult, which is $550, and then there's a placement fee, which is $2,420. But what we've done is we've developed a whole network of retirement living and residential aged care providers that will pay our fee. We always tell it what it is, so everyone knows who's paying who, but the client knows if they go to a MyCarePath member, the provider pays our fee. If they choose one that's not a member, then the client pays our fee. So it's a pretty simple model. We always explain everything to a client before they come on board. If it's urgent from a hospital, we don't normally charge that initial consult. Maybe we set something up, through Keyton or something, I don't know, that, there's a variety of different ways. But what we want to do is develop that, people are used to paying for services, which is fine. But if we can because providers are benefiting from us delivering them really healthy, well-rounded, educated clients. So I feel that it's a good marketing cost from their side. Sorry, Bill, yeah?
How does it differ from the NDIS?
Oh, look. They're not even on the same planet. They're so different.
Are they really?
Yes.
What is that where most people would gravitate to?
Oh, NDIS is, the big line is 65. NDIS only applies to people under 65. The aged care world applies to people over 65. Hard, fast rule. We've had occasionally we can break that rule, but it is so painful. And the NDIS is it's an insurance scheme where aged care is a government-funded service.
Dana, that question from Bill is extremely prevalent at the moment. And what is the difference? They've been getting into.
I could do a whole session on that.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a type of session we'd be pretty keen.
We could do so
As
many
with
different sessions.
Each of the speakers with with individual.
Yeah, thanks.
Where are you? You obviously do face to face.
Yeah.
So where are you?
We're physically, our office is in Mont Albert or Box Hill. But most of our services are done by Zoom or Teams meetings, so online, unless you're close.
See, that's the thing, isn't it? Everything is done online. Not necessarily everybody, including me, likes to do things online.
Yes, I know.
Likes to.
We do code people as much as we can, but unfortunately that's usually the ones that attract the cost because it's very time consuming.
I might start wrapping things up. Thank you so much, Dana. That was fantastic.